Hey everybody, I'm Christopher McSweeney.
And I'm Tim Shabanowitz.
And today we have lesson 15, Color and Paint. And we have a quote from Steve Jobs, Apple founder.
The late Steve Jobs.
The late Steve Jobs. Yes. And here's our quote. Some people say, give the customers what they want. But that's not my approach. Our job is to figure out what they're going to want before they do. Take 30 seconds and see what you come up with. All right, so let's jump into it. Blue is not just blue, but it's blue, right?
Kind of.
Okay. What is all this?
Yeah. So when you're talking about color or paint in this case, it's good to know that when you're talking color, you have to have some sort of vocabulary so that people understand what you're talking about. So there's 4 key words here that I want to make sure everyone kind of understands what they are. They are hue, shade, tint, and tone. So the easiest way you can think about this is hue is your base color. So red, blue, yellow, orange, purple.
Gotcha.
Hue, it's the base color, right? Shade is if you take your base color and add black to it. So therefore it makes it darker.
Like
quicker.
Like the shade from a tree.
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Tint is taking your basic color, your hue, and making it lighter or adding white to it, right? So
shining a bright light on something.
Yeah, exactly. Making something kind of translucent, kind of maybe.
Ooh, I like that.
A little bit. So that gives you that lighter color. And tone, it's kind of an oddity, but that's when you take the plain color of hue and add gray to it. So it's actually darkening it or lightening it up, depending on which way you're coming from, but at a more gradual pace. Okay, so those are those 4 words that you need to kind of understand. So when you pick green, or if your client wants green, you better make sure it's the right shade of green, or you need to tint that green to make it a little lighter. All that kind of stuff. So it's not blue is just blue. Or green is just green. It's a lot more. There's millions of colors. If you've been on your computer, there's, you might see like millions of colors. Like there's millions upon millions of colors out there that are subtle. You might see like Pantone colors, which is a thing that you can actually get the specific type of color. The color that's on your laptop may or may not be the color that you see out in the real world too. So you have to kind of make sure you're looking at the exact right thing, and that everyone agrees on it.
Yeah. Really interesting because in videography and photography world, especially with digital, sometimes you will even send the client your monitor settings so that they can accurately see what you have edited.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really, really important because I know like in Final Cut or Lightroom, when I edit stuff, they have HSL. Hue, saturation, luminance, which are all very, very similar to this. And this obviously goes deeper. We're just giving you the basic. But these 4 things that Tim just talked about are really going to help you communicate to the client. So when you say, oh, we're going to paint it blue, they just had one version of blue, right?
You got to make sure you set that up for them correctly. Is it a sky blue? Is it a midnight blue? And everything in between. Now, the other thing that you do have to remember if you are picking paint, that if you go to your local hardware store, that you got to make sure that you pick the right finish or the right sheen, because it goes anywhere from flat, which means there's no shine on it, all the way to gloss, or I think it's like super gloss or high gloss, I think it is. Yeah. And there's stuff in between there. You're not going to put high gloss on an interior wall unless you're trying to make a statement, and you're not going to put flat black or anything on something else. Somewhere in between. So make sure you learn about eggshell, satin. When you go to your hardware store, they can give you examples in person to actually see what is the right finish for
Right.
for a wall.
Which goes back to a previous lesson where we talked about texture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very cool. Yeah. So make sure when you, if you have already done that field trip, go back and say, hey, I'm back. And get more samples, more swatches.
Yes. More field trips are always good. You're always going to keep going back.
Yeah. And ask for samples of the finish.
The finish, the sheens. They have those there.
We also have a DOD today. Want to give a quick 30-second thing here?
Sure. Frank Lloyd Wright is essentially the father of modern American architecture. Yes, this building was built in Taliesin West was in 1937. You might have seen his other building, Falling Water. Really good. There's a lot of cool stuff there, but I picked Taliesin West mainly because it's out in the desert and the color palette that's used there is unlike anything else. And, I figured matching it up with color might just, pique your interest. So take a look. It's one of his, it's known in the architectural world, but lesser known as far as like, the lay person. So take a look. Maybe you like it. Maybe you don't.
So a fun thing about the desert is that as the sun changes position, it will really influence how buildings look in the desert because of the way the red rocks reflect things and all the different sediments out there. So if you really want to go on a fun trip, do some searches on this building at different times of the day.
Yeah.
And different seasons.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we hope this video helps, and good luck.
See you on the next one.